Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. We've got another busy week of boxing, and tonight I've got Yas and Jack with me. Guys, how you doing?
All good, mate. How are you?
How are you?
Perfect. I'm good. All the better for having some good boxing to talk about. So we'll get straight into it. We've got a card up in the northeast, which is good news for Ray. We've got Troy Williamson, friend of the channel, taking on Josh Kelly for the British light middleweight or super welterweight title. Jack, I'm going to come to you first, mate. Just give us a little bit of breakdown and your thoughts on both fighters and sort of how you see this fight playing out.
Yeah, so ever since Josh Kelly was an amateur, I've been a massive fan of him, and always believed the hype. And even to this day, over 4 rounds, I believe he'll probably beat anyone over 4 rounds. But it's when it starts getting into the mid to the late rounds, he just seems to deplete massively. And I mean, we all see it in the Ray Robinson fight where he was probably lucky to get a draw, and we saw it in the David Afanasian fight in when he was supposedly in the shape of his life and gassed out after 4 rounds and ended up getting stopped by David. But I mean, it's everyone's favorite excuse when they lose, how they're struggling with the weight. I don't buy it at all. I've been massively outspoken on always making weight and always being in great shape in my whole career. I don't see how you can make weight for every single fight in your life, and then when you lose, all of a sudden it's become a problem. So I don't buy that excuse. He's moved up now. To me, it doesn't matter. To me, he can still make welterweight. To me, he should still be fighting at welterweight. But yeah, I think he's great, as I've said, but I don't know, maybe there's some kind of discipline problem he's got when it comes to eating or training or something. But then moving on to Troy Williams, I've had him on my channel before. I've spoken to him, and he's started like myself in the small hall scene, having to sell tickets and so on and so forth. And he got his big break on TV against Cheeseman and scored an absolute brutal knockout. And now he's got another big break against Josh Kelly. I think people really underrate Troy. He can not only have a fight, but he can also box as well. And I think he's proven by the people he's beaten that he is going to go on and do great things in the sport. If I had to pick a winner, I would say that Troy is probably going to stop Josh Kelly mid to late.
No, that's my prediction as well. I just think, as you sort of said, Troy can do it all, and although he's still at British level, it will probably get accused of being biased because obviously we've had him on the channel a few times. Mm-hmm. But I just think realistically he's above it. But I understand why you would fight Josh Kelly. It's a big name. It's a scalp to put on your record. Yes, I'm coming to you. Same question, really. Do you disagree with us, or how do you see this one playing out?
No, to be honest, I agree with you. Whilst it is a good fight for the Northeast, and obviously it's for the British title, so obviously it's a local derby, Darlington versus Sunderland, I think. So, people are going to come out and it's in Newcastle. Obviously, these two, they've got history as well. They've been together in I think it was a GB or the England setup. They've been together. So they even mentioned it in the press conference, I think. I remember. They've spent time with each other. So the rivalry is there. And I just feel like it's a case of mentally, I feel as though Troy Williamson might be in a better place. I feel as though it's a case of, has Josh Kelly still got demons to get over, obviously, through being stopped, and obviously with the way things, how he was really highly anticipated to be like the next big thing with signing with Matchroom at the beginning of his career, and it didn't quite work out that way. I feel as though Troy's got the momentum going into this, and he's got a bit between his teeth because he knows a win here will cement probably a big fight next year. Maybe he can move on to fight for European honours, etc. And obviously he's well ranked as well. I think he's number 6 in the WBO and he's number 8 in the IBF. So obviously a win there could get him into a European title shot, maybe against Avanesian. Obviously we wait to see if he's going to face Crawford. But I'm backing Troy Williamson to win this one late. stopping late.
Yeah, no, it won't be Avanesian. Avanesian's at welterweight. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, he is well ranked, and I think that this is a sort of, for me, it's probably a good payday as a last one at a domestic scene, because I think, you know, Jack sort of alluded to it, that for me, I hate the phrase hardcore boxing fans, but it kind of applies here, and it's a bit frustrating. But if you really watch your boxing, you know Troy Williamson and you know how good he is. Whereas I think, you know, it's like his ability's up there, but in reality, his profile's somewhere down there. So I think this is the perfect fight to sort of help bridge that gap, build the profile. And then next year, as you said, I think we'll get some big fights. So we're unanimous. And I know Ray is also backing Troy to get the win. So let's hope we're right, boys. Otherwise, we're going to look a bit stupid come Friday night. We'll move on down the card a little bit. We're also going to talk about Lyndon Arthur a little bit. Yas, I'll come to you first. Just talk to me about Lyndon Arthur, because personally, I've said it on here before. I thought he was stitched up a little bit by Frank Warren, and it was almost, you know, like he was never supposed to beat Anthony Yard. And then when he did, there was absolutely no plan in place, and it was almost like, right, punish him. So just talk to me a little bit about Lyndon Arthur now and update people in case they may not know what's been going on with him.
Yeah, well, Lyndon Arthur, obviously, we know he got that win over Anthony Yard during the lockdown. Quite a dominant points win, in my opinion. He boxed really well that night, and he boxed under instruction. He won the fight with a jab. And obviously, he didn't quite show up in the rematch. Obviously, Yard done what he had to do. He got him out of there. But I feel sorry for him, because for after that fight, he should have at least Frank Warren should have backed him a bit more. But hey, it's boxing, you know. But anyway, since then, he had quite a long time out of the ring, and then obviously he had, I think, a fight earlier this. So he's having a good end to the year. I think he's been out twice towards the end of the year, and I feel as though the guy that he's coming up against as well, he's won the English light heavyweight title. So he's no joke. He's no pushover. So he clearly knows his way around the ring, and he's not just going to be a walkover. So I do expect, however, Lyndon Arthur to come through this if he's really serious about getting back into contention in those big domestic fights next year, because the light heavyweight division is buzzing right now in the UK. I feel like he should get through this, probably through a comfortable points win.
No, definitely. There's big fights available, isn't there? Because we know what the situation is with the world titles. And similarly to Troy at 154, they're all sort of locked up, and they've got their next years, or certainly the next 6 months of their career planned. So if Lyndon can come through this, there's some huge domestic fights and paydays, because you're not going to get a world title shot regardless. So, Jack, I noticed you were nodding there when Yas is sort of just bigging up the opponent somewhat. Just talk to us about this opponent, Lyndon Arthur. What do you think?
Yeah, well, before I get on to the opponent, obviously, alluding to what you both said, Yard was 110% stitched up by Frank Warren, big time. But yeah, going on to the opponent, Joel McIntyre, again, another person I know very well. He used to train down at State of Mind. He used to spar Chris Eubank Jr. all the time when he was getting ready for his fights. He was on the Boxer tournament. He's a 2-time English champion. He's been in with like big names. Is it Michael Shinkwin? I think it is. He was in with Lee Conroy, so on and so forth. He was in the Boxer tournament. He fought Dex Spellman, got to the semi-finals in a fight he was winning until he just got too comfortable and ended up getting dropped in the second round. And I think he ended up losing on a split in the semis. I actually had Joel to go on and win that the tournament before it all started, and he was winning until he was a silly boy. But yeah, so it's a great fight. I think people will probably look at it and think, easy walkover for Lyndon, but it's not. Joel will make it an entertaining fight. And to be fair, I do still see Lyndon winning, but I think Joel will have his moments, and he will make it an interesting, hard fight, because he's a slick boxer. He's been around the game for a long time, and I've seen him spar, I've seen him fight. I know he can, like, boxing abilities, he can hang in there with anyone. So it'd be a really interesting fight. I think it would be a chess match, but it would definitely be an interesting one. But yeah, I'm still, if I had to pick a winner, I'm still going to go with Lyndon.
No, 100%. I think that's the sort of opponent Linden needs this time out. We saw him blow his opponent away last time out. And I think this is it. He needs someone who's going to make a fight of it, keep him honest, and thoroughly let him shake off that ring rust type thing. And before he hopefully looks into a big 2023. So just lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about Aaron Chalmers. Now, again, myself in particular took a little bit of stick in comment sections the other week, slagging off the whole influencer YouTube scene. Aaron Chalmers doesn't really fall into that. He was on Geordie Shore, which obviously is a reality TV show. But in fairness to him, he has actually applied himself to the fight game, hasn't he? Because he did MMA with reasonable success. I know he ended up losing. And this is his second professional boxing match. He won his first one. Yeah, so I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on Aaron Chalmers as a whole? For me, he's almost a little bit in between. You can't say he's just playing at it because he's been doing fighting in its various forms for the last few years. But I just can't get on board with it still myself. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's still got some proving to do, but I mean, he does come from a bit of a fighting background. You know, he's got, like you said, he's featured in the MMA. I mean, yes, he's a big star up in the Northeast as well. So no doubt, he's obviously going to want to come out. I think he had that his debut was a points win, wasn't it, back in June? So of course, I feel like this time around, he's probably going to come out and want to excite and probably get a knockout, so make some noise up in the Northeast. But I don't really know too much about him, but I feel as though he's still got quite a lot to prove, you know, in the boxing game, because it's two different things, boxing and MMA. But obviously he's obviously going to have an audience and big support. So I expect him to come in and probably try and get his opponent out of there.
No, definitely. I mean, Jack, we'll come to you now. I'm hoping that you, from your background, you're going to agree with me, because I have took a bit of stick for this recently. But my point always around it has been that the more of these YouTubers, reality stars, influencers get involved with boxing, it takes away television dates for genuine career boxers or people like yourself, people who've like done really well on the small hall circuit, but potentially don't get that break on a televised card. And that is my biggest issue with it. It for me, it hampers the overall boxing product, and people stop getting opportunities because people have decided they'd quite like to earn a few quid as a one-off. So just talk to me about what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, like, it's a weird one for me. I'm very like 50-50 with it, because don't get me wrong, like a lot of the people that come through is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, I've seen better fights down like the local pub and all that, do you know what I mean? So like, but some of them do work hard and do apply themselves, but then they go off and fight other like influencers instead of working their way through the system, because that's where the money is. And really, you can talk as much as you like about it, but at the end of the day, that's only boxing's fault. There is no one else to blame but boxing itself. There's people like Jake Paul, who I actually like. Jake Paul, like, he works hard, but I've heard things that go into his contract that takes away everything, which I've kind of liked about him. But again, as I've kind of said before, that is hearsay. I mean, I've heard it from a lot of reliable sources, and I do believe that to be true, but it is only hearsay. But yeah, I like Jake Paul, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault that every time he's tried to make a fight with a professional boxer, the professional boxers are the ones pulling out. So again, if there's anyone to blame, it's boxing. It's not Jake Paul's fault that he can't get a fight with a professional boxer. And another thing is a big argument of mine is, what do people class as a professional boxer nowadays? Because in my opinion, as long as you've got a license and you have a professional fight, you're a professional boxer. Because you've got people that have literally come from a white collar background, which is nothing in my opinion. It's not got a sanction licensing body. It's not even looked at by the British Boxing Board of Control as real boxing. None of the titles are real. None of the fights are real. So you got boxers coming from that background and then getting a license, but they're classed as professional boxers. But because someone that's coming from an influencer stage they're not classed as a professional boxer. So what are we classing as professional boxers? I don't understand it. And then you've got people saying that Jake Paul's never fought a professional boxer in his whole career. But again, I'm going to make another big argument with Anderson Silva, who had his first fight in 1997 and beat Chavez Jr. in his third professional fight, who was a ex-world champion and has a record of 3-2. And he's not a professional boxer. So if he's not a professional boxer and has more credible wins on his record than I do, and 99% of boxers do, then what is a professional boxer? And I will argue that to the death of me, that Anderson Silva is a professional boxer, and he's a more professional boxer than 99% of people. So if he's not, and people don't want to class him as a professional boxer, why are they then classing Tommy Fury as a professional boxer who has only ever fought journeyman? I just don't get it. I don't get what people classing as professional boxers nowadays. But, you know, as I said, I'm 50-50 with it. There's parts that I like, and there's parts that I don't like. And I can agree with both sides of it. But I just wanted people to be a bit more realistic with things when they go off on their whole rants that just kind of don't make any sense.
No, I'd agree with you. Anderson Silva is definitely a professional fighter, as you say, and we talked about that just before in the preview for when he fought Jake Paul. How you can't knock Jake Paul; it's a credible win. The biggest knock on Anderson Silva, you could actually say, would be his age at 47, as opposed to his fighting background. But as you say, you can't knock Jake Paul. Tommy Fury is the joke there, but that's definitely one for another video. My point on it all, I suppose, really, is for me, a professional boxer, obviously, as you say, obviously the license makes you a professional boxer. But what worries me is when you see these influencer cards, and, there's a viral clip I'm sure we've all seen the other week where a guy sort of did a half and flicked out a shot, and it wasn't really it was just pathetic. And that, for me, is the worry, because I love boxing, but as we openly say, we're just fans. So I get for you, Jack, you're coming from a different angle. But as just fans, we love this sport. And you're going to see, for me, one day, I mean, some women fought the other week, a porn star and a young girl. And the young girl was just taking shots, flush in the face, the head. For me, someone's going to get hurt one day. And the way the cancel culture of this world is now, boxing suffers. And genuine, like championship level boxers, just people who are committing themselves to their craft suffer because some young kid who's got a TikTok account that's done well has decided they'd like to lace up a pair of gloves and earn 10 grand for a fight. And I've got no objection to anybody making money. But for me, when it puts something at risk that I love and, millions of other people love, go away. Jake Paul, as you said, be fair to him, we all hear, as you sort of said, the whispers of what's in his contract and whatnot. However, I think it's fair to say, fight on fight, you can see he is improving. His stance, his shots, his footwork. He's slowly getting better. He's applying himself to boxing. So for me now, as much as I think, it's ridiculous Maurizio Sulaiman coming in and saying he'll get a WBC ranking if he beats Tommy Fury. No, that's ridiculous. However, he's a professional boxer now, I think it's fair to say. Yes, do you agree, just to finish us off?
Yeah, 100%. I would agree that Jake Paul, he is, say what you want, but he is living the life. He's putting in the work, and I think it's unfair to dismiss someone when I understand for those who just come in for a quick payday. Obviously, I don't blame them because it's big money, it's more money than they've ever earned. But those I'll probably say that they don't really have the right to be called a pro boxer. But for someone like Jake Paul, who's actually in there and he's actually training, you see him, he's putting in the work, he's investing in himself. You have to classify him as a pro boxer.
No, totally. Guys, we'll finish off there. We've gone off topic, but it is relevant. So let us know in the comment section your predictions for the main event, in particular, Troy Williamson and Josh Kelly. And we've got plenty more content dropping this week, so stay tuned.